HyperMirror is a Kickstarter project with a lot of interest. In fact, it's gathered nearly £500,000 in backers between both its Kickstarter and Indiegogo pages. It's a wireless HDMI solution that, much like Intel's WiGig, uses 60 GHz wavelengths and, much like Intel's WiGig, doesn't work reliably. In this video, I'm going to check it out, but first, if you haven't already, consider subscribing for more videos like this one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So, HyperMirror. It comes in a pack of a transmitter and a receiver, with the transmitter being effectively just a phone clip with a dongle in the back. The transmitter is a fairly small but standalone unit, has a mini HDMI and a USB-C port, and does come with a clip that you can use to attach it to your TV, although the way that it attaches to the receiver itself is really very flimsy, and I can guarantee you will break almost instantly. The transmitter, like I said, is a phone clip that fits anything from a small to a medium-sized phone. Anything bigger than, say, my OnePlus 7T Pro, you might have difficulty fitting it in. On the back, like I said, there is a dongle. This is the main actual transmitter itself with an HDMI port on it, although if you do plug it into the phone clip, it does have a USB-C port that you can use if you want to use it with your phone, and a USB-C port on the other side to power the whole thing. Now, if you do want to use it with your phone, you will need to find a phone that supports DisplayPort over USB. It's actually a fairly small list of phones that do, but happily my OnePlus 7T Pro does, and so when you do want to use that, you have a very small USB-C to USB-C cable in the box that you can use to hook that up. Spec-wise, this uses a 60 GHz wavelength to connect the transmitter to the receiver. Now that's actually a standard frequency as part of the Wi-Fi Alliance's 802.11ad standard. That's actually the same one that Intel uses for their WiGig, although Intel does it a bit differently, and so this LickPock HyperMirror, that one only gets 4 gigabits per second of connectivity speed versus Intel 7, and only has 5 meters of range compared to Intel 7. Now the HyperMirror is capable of doing 1080p 60 FPS, although interestingly the back of the box does list Ultra HD support, although I'm not sure whether they're referring to Ultra HD as in 4K or just Ultra HD quality. Either way, 1080p 60 FPS is what I've been testing at, and one other claim that they make is that they have 0 latency. That's quite a bold claim, so let's test it. Now my usual test for latency is total system input lag. That's the time from the light on the mouse going out to the gun firing on screen. Now I'm using a gaming laptop and the Gigabyte G32QC that I reviewed recently, and like I said, it's both the HDMI cable and the HyperMirror are set to 1080p 60 FPS. Now, the interesting thing here is that the HDMI cable directly connecting the laptop to the display, the input lag there was 69 milliseconds. The HyperMirror, the average was 76. Also, the maximum time, the maximum latency that I got with HyperMirror was almost a full 10 milliseconds slower than the maximum that I got with the HDMI cable. So, the claim that it has 0 latency is a lie, but it's also not so consequential that it's going to be a major problem. But the latency doesn't tell the whole story. While the input lag wasn't too high, the actual experience, playing games was pretty terrible. Anywhere from having artifacting on the screen to having stuttering and jittering, or even just like smearing that looks like motion blur, all of those things made the actual gaming experience really not fantastic, and that's when it actually worked. It would cut out randomly and refuse to reconnect for minutes at a time, even without moving the two devices. And then when you do move the devices, I have to call BS on that 5 meter range. I moved the laptop from this desk here to where the camera is, which is no more than 2 meters away, and it cut out and refused to reconnect again. In fact, it's the same story with my phone when I used the adapter. When I had this connected, it would connect for like 1 frame at a time. I legitimately mean flash up 1 frame of my home screen and then turn it off again. And that was a consistent problem that just wouldn't work. When I tried to use it with my underdesk PC, that flat out wouldn't connect at all until I hung the receiver dongle off the edge less than a meter, actually less than 30 centimeters from the transmitter, and it still wouldn't connect reliably. It connected for a couple of seconds at a time, showed a smeary start menu, and then turned it off and refused to reconnect again. Now, all of this doesn't sound great, but it gets worse. They're asking for near on £100 for this kit. That's insane for something that, at least in my testing, barely works. Sure, playing mobile games on your TV wirelessly with no latency, or low latency anyway, is a nice, cool thing to have, but beyond a cool factor, I can't see a real-world use case for this, even if it did work. 5 meters is far too short of a distance to mean that you couldn't just go and connect a cable, and besides a minor convenience of not having a cable in the way between your display and your device, I just can't see a usage for this, especially considering how fragile the connection between the two are. I also really don't understand why they seem to be promoting this for use with the Nintendo Switch dock. Because the whole thing about the Nintendo Switch dock is that you leave it connected to your TV and you just drop the console in, take the controllers out, and then you have a living room wireless gaming experience. The only reason I can see them really recommending this is just peak laziness, in that you don't have to stand up to put the Switch into the dock, and instead you just leave it next to you wirelessly and plug it in there. If it's not obvious, I don't think you should buy one of these. £100 is a lot of money to spend on something that, in my eyes, is more like a gadget and doesn't work most of the time, and maybe with some refinements like a better connection between the transmitter and the receiver, the inclusion of the rest of the Wi-Fi bands that Intel does use, like N, AC, and AX, that might actually give you a better, more stable, and faster, and more impressive connection. Sure, it might end up being worth it, but for the moment, you may as well just go buy a long HDMI cable and have a much more reliable, better resolution and refresh rate experience that won't have significant artifactings or random disconnections. So with that said, those are my thoughts, but I would love to hear yours in the comments down below. What do you think of HyperMirror? Is there something you would really want for yourself? If so, what devices would you want to use it with? And what is your use case for it? If not, feel free to let me know why in the comments down below too. Now, of course, as usual, there will be a link to this in the description down below. It will likely be to their Kickstarter or Indiegogo campaigns if you do want to check it out and see pricing, that kind of thing. But otherwise, that is pretty much it. There's also going to be a load of other links in the description down below that you can use to support the channel. Mostly affiliate links from people like Overclocks UK, VPN options, Streamlabs OBS, and Humble Bundle. And there's also some other links like merch or hoodies or t-shirts like this one, or Patreon if you want to get cool rewards like ad-free videos and supporting me directly. Or there's a load of other stuff you can check out too. I will leave some more videos over there for you to check out, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments down below, but otherwise, we'll see you all in the next video.